Hey guys, my name is Ravi Sharma and I'm the founder and buyer's agent here at Search Property. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode of Search Property TV. And today's video is about why savers are losers. So put simply, saving money has one purpose, and that is to fuel your investments. If saving money is your idea of saving for the future and investing for the future, well then you're gonna lose because that strategy doesn't work out. I'm gonna explain in this video why that's the case. So normally what happens is you get paid, so you get your pay or your salary, and people will go, I wanna save at least 30 to 40% of my salary, right? So let's just go 30%, I wanna save it. Okay, so once I've saved this money, where does it go? It goes into a bank account, Ravi. Cool. It usually then gets put into a high interest savings maximizer, featured, unbelievable savings term deposit account. Cool, bro. Usually you'll get 2%, okay? So they will try and sell this product. A bank will try and sell you this product like it is the best thing since sliced white bread, okay? But let's just look at what this actually means, right? So, you know, if you have some money and you go and invest that, well, you save it and you're putting more money in there and you're like, yes, it's compounding and I'm gonna become financially free, you're making 2%, okay? What they don't tell you is a little word called inflation. You may have heard of it. You may not understand what it means, you may understand it, but I'm going to show you exactly what it means. Inflation, our inflation target is usually 2 to 3%. Now, inflation, for those who don't understand it, is the cost of goods and services going up every year, okay? So it's basically your money losing its value because what you could purchase 5 years ago is not what you could purchase now. What I mean by that is $100 5 years ago would buy you a lot more than what it could buy you today, okay? So over time, what will happen is you probably hear, you know, your parents or your grandparents saying, oh, I made $20 a week. Oh, you know, I was getting paid $2 an hour. You know, I was struggling. Now you get paid pretty much what? JobKeeper, you're getting paid $750 a week. That's unheard of 20 years ago, right? But everything is relative. So house prices were lower, you had bread that was lower, you could go to McDonald's and prices were lower. I think if you haven't watched The Founder, that's pretty much, you know, Ray Kroc's story about how he got into, you know, building McDonald's into an empire. They used to have like cheeseburgers for like 15 cents. When you talk to people now and go, well, you could buy a McDonald's cheeseburger for 15 cents back then for a meal, they'd go, oh, what the hell? Like, we're paying $15 now, right? It's the same argument that I have for people now and challenge your views to go, well, that was possible. But if someone said at that time that house prices would be $1 million in middle of nowhere, you will have cheeseburgers for $15, bread is gonna cost you $3 a loaf, people back then would go, you're an idiot. Like, I don't know what you're thinking. It's never gonna happen, okay? So when today I say to people, look, you know, a can of Coke is going to cost you $12 in the future. People go, this guy's, he's whacked. He's on something. Oh, you know, the properties that you want to buy, they're probably worth, you know, 2 million now, or 3 million now. It'll be worth 34 million. Where did you come up with these numbers? Or, you know, you're making 100K today. You know, that's the equivalent of making $2.5 million in 10 years' time. It's gonna happen, okay? And it's just because we as humans are so short-sighted and don't wanna believe something unless we actually see it, and by then it's too late, right? So if inflation is at 2% and your savings rate is 2%, what does that mean? Well, your money is going up by 2%, but your inflation means the value is coming down by 2%. So everyone can do basic maths. 2 minus 2 equals 0. Big fat 0, right? So although these maximizing accounts are sold to you like you can invest and you know that money's gonna grow over time, it does grow, but at the rate that it grows at, it's eroded by inflation. So you're really going, I'm just gonna flush money down the toilet, and that's pretty much what you could do. Because if you earn less than this number here, that's pretty much what you're doing, right? Because what you could buy today with that savings that you've worked so hard for is basically going, well, look, you know what? I'm going to put it into a bank account because I'm too lazy. But you're ready to work 40, 50 hours a week, right? But you're too lazy to go, I need to make my money work for me. I need it to do something else apart from sit in this maximizing shit account and erode away with inflation, okay? So what's the solution? I've given you the problem. Now what's the solution? Well, before we get into a solution, and I think given that you're probably following the page already, you know what I'm going to say. It's about investing in property, right? But I just want to break this down a little bit further. So I did some calculations, right? And I'm going to put them up on the screen now. But let's say, for instance, you had saved $50,000, okay? So $50,000 you had in savings. So you wanted to put $20,000 every year. So annually, you're going to go $20,000 of my savings. Sorry, there's too many zeros there. $20,000 every year as savings. Okay, so it's compounding, right, guys? It's compounding. So what we're going to essentially do is go, okay, well, we're going to go, you know what? Let's work out the worst case situation. Maybe you had been investing, saving away this money for the last 10 years. Okay, so as an average, we're going to use 4%. We know the best maximizing account is probably 2%, but you know what? Let's bump it up to 4% because let's play devil's advocate. Let's work out what it would work out to be if it was at 4%. So savings, $50,000. You're putting in $20,000 a year and it's compounding, okay, at 4%. Okay, so what does that look like in 20 years' time? Well, the final investment value is actually going to be $724,000. Okay, great. So there's not much you can do with that sort of money, especially in 20 years when inflation's kicked in, but people get happy with that number, right? It's a step in the right direction. Now, if we're really looking at going, okay, is this the best way to spend my money? Is this the best thing that I could be possibly doing? I want you to change your mindset. I want you to think about one thing and one thing only. The money that you are saving is not to secure your financial freedom, okay? The money that you're saving should actually be going into paying your assets, okay? So if you've got investment properties and the money that you used to save, so the $20,000, if now your property portfolio costs you $20,000 to hold, that's your savings, right? But not only is it not money that you can see in your bank account, it's actually assets that are growing a lot quicker than your 4% interest rate. And we all know at the moment, you could probably get 2%. So I thought, you know what, this is a good exercise. Let's go and compare that to what happens if you did the opposite, right? So I use the example of $50,000, right? And with $50,000, you go and purchase a property for $350,000. Now, there's something key here to know is in this situation, we're using our own money. We can't leverage this. We can't do anything with it. Here, we used $50,000, which we initially had, and we can leverage that to purchase an asset worth $350,000. Okay. So after you've purchased this, your rent is going to pay for your expenses and it's going to equal zero. So to hold this property will cost you nothing, okay? Now, over the period of 20 years, your rents will grow, right? They go up every year if you've purchased in the right location and you've never put any extra money. So this $20,000 that you're saving here, you're not putting it into this property, right? The rent is covering all the expenses. You've gone, cool, here's my $50,000, I'm good. So if you were to do this every 2 to 3 years, you'd be able to purchase another one, right? Depending on what your personal situation would be and your income and your servicing. But you could effectively purchase like 6 or 7 of these over a period of 10 years. Now, we're just gonna use the one example and we're gonna base it on capital growth, okay? So in 20 years time, with rent increasing, you'll have paid this house off in about 20 years, right? Now, $350,000, if that was growing at 4%, right? That would now be worth $766,000, okay? So the value, 766, it's growing at 4%. In this situation, we're assuming that it's gonna grow at 4%. Now, all of the properties that I look at, as a conservative rate, I'm looking at 4%. But I'm using the same strategies that allowed me to build a portfolio where properties in my portfolio are growing 7 to 11% every year, right? So we're going to use the conservative 4% just so we can make it aligned and it's easy to understand. We've done that, the house is paid off, and now it's worth $766,000. Okay, so not only have we made more versus this situation, but we also didn't put this amount of money into the property, right? Every year the rent was going up and covering the expenses. We've paid down the mortgage, interest plus principal, and we have an asset worth $766,000. And what you could potentially do is actually go, okay, I'm gonna buy 5 of these. Once I've got 5 of them, I'm then gonna contribute $20,000 every year to pay down my debt, okay? So then you're paying down your debt, and you could pay this off earlier than 20 years, if that's what you wanted to do and it was aligned with your goals. But here's the biggest kicker, right? Inflation, okay, wipes out 2%, wipes out 2%. So they're growing sort of the same rate. The biggest kicker here is that this is an income producing asset, okay? It means that it will produce income. Okay, here we can produce income too, right? We could produce 4%, possibly. Okay, but here we're producing somewhere around 6 to 8% rental yield. Okay, you've now got the possibility to use all of those properties to generate even more wealth. So although we're looking at 350 here, just for the sake of this example, we're looking at 6 to 8% rental yield as a return on cash flow only. We then look at, in terms of income, if you started taking that money out, right, you're not compounding on the interest you've earned. You're using that income to now service your life or your lifestyle. In this case, you could still draw down the income, but that does not affect the value here, which means it's going to compound and it's going to continue to grow. Guys, this is why, although having good spending and savings habits are good to have as a foundation, it's not the end. And unfortunately, we've been taught that, saving your money is the goal, and then you can use that money and you can go on holidays and things like that. But I prefer to use my money, save initially, and then plug that into my foundation properties. If you don't know what I mean by that, go and check out some other videos I've got on this channel. But it basically means that if I can go and put that money into assets and the cash flow position takes care of itself, well, that means if I'm done with buying more properties, I could use the equity and travel. I could use my extra savings and travel, but my assets in the background are going to keep growing, right? And I know that I'm going to rely on that to then retire. In this case, you rely on the bank telling you you can earn 4%. Here, I decide if I've got a property in the right location, what rent I want to charge. Guys, what we've been taught is wrong. And I know that I'm breaking down a few of those walls in my previous videos. Do go check them out. And if you want to know a bit more about this, I suggest you do a couple of things. Subscribe to the channel because I'm bringing out weekly videos. I'm going all out with content. So if you follow me on my socials, get me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you want to find me. If you want to have a more in-depth conversation about your strategy, a one-on-one session, right, with someone that's actually gone out and done it and is continuing to help people, then reach out. There's a link in the description below. I urge you to be proactive. Don't be reactive like the 99% of people. If you want to really live a life that 1% of people will only enjoy, the financial independence and the financial freedom that's going to allow you for choice, then you really need to take a proactive step towards investing correctly. As always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Leave a thumbs up if you like, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.